You know those scars you can't scrub away, the kind that mark your soul deeper than your skin? Yeah, I got one of those. Thin, jagged, right on my forearm. Every time I catch sight of it, I'm back in that night, his hands wrapped around me, not in love, in fury. And the thing is, that wasn't even the worst of it. The bruises fade, but it's the way he looked at me afterward like I was nothing, like I deserved it, that stuck around. It gnawed at me, that look, chipped away at the woman I thought I was. His boss. God, don't get me started on that creep. Mr. Slick Hair. Mr. thinks he's God's gift to the boardroom. Always leering, that hungry glint in his eyes when I'd bring coffee during meetings. Like I was something to be devoured, an appetizer before the real meal. Well, tonight, Mr. Big Shot's in for a surprise. Turns out, I've got teeth. My phone buzzes. It's him, of course. Same old text, same old lies. Late meeting, don't wait up. A bitter laugh bubbles up. If only you knew, honey. Tonight, I'm not waiting. Tonight, I'm setting the table, and you and your slimy boss are the main course. I've been meek for too long, played the good little wife, swallowing the disrespect and the lies. Now, it's payback time. The doorbell rings, and my stomach does a weird flip-flop. It's not nerves. Lord knows, after everything, fear ain't my problem anymore. It's excitement, twisted, maybe, but I think I earned a little crazy after all this time. The door swings open, and there he stands, Mr. Important himself, that smug grin plastered on his face. Your husband sent me, he purrs, and even in my simmering anger, I gotta give the guy credit. He's smooth, oozes that fake charm that's probably worked on 100 women before me. But the thing about predators, they always think they're the smartest ones in the room. They never guess the mouse might have learned to bite, that behind the polite smile, there's a storm brewing. I guide him toward the living room, my hips swaying a little more than usual. The scent of my perfume hangs heavy, jasmine and something a touch more dangerous, all sultry and intoxicating. This whole house, it's turned into a stage, and tonight I'm playing the lead role. I've spent years as the supporting actress in my own life, fading into the background. Tonight, the spotlight burns bright, and I'm damn well going to own it. He follows me close, eyes tracing the curve of my back. There's a flicker of something in his gaze, triumph, maybe, mixed with a heady dose of lust. The fool thinks he's already won, that I'm some blushing housewife bowled over by his fancy suit and practiced lines. He's in for the shock of his life. See, the thing about powerful men, they get a rush off of feeling in control. They crave the chase, the thrill of the conquest. They never suspect that the power can shift, that the game can change under their noses. We settle on the couch, crystal glasses glinting on the coffee table. I pour wine, a deep red, almost the color of blood. Seems fitting, given the kind of bloodshed I've got planned. To success, he toasts, raising his glass with practiced arrogance. To ambition, I echo, the words sticking a little in my throat. It's funny, the things we chase, the things we sacrifice on the altar of success. My husband climbed the corporate ladder, step by ruthless step, leaving me in our marriage somewhere in the dust behind him. His boss, well, the view from the top must be intoxicating enough to excuse any nastiness on the way up, any betrayals along the path. His hand lands on my thigh, a bold move, even for him. Normally, I'd stiffen, maybe even recoil. But tonight, I play along. My fingers trail lightly along the fabric of his expensive suit, my nails grazing his skin. He practically purrs, the idiot. It's almost pitiful how easy they are, these men. Inflate their egos, play a little helpless, give them an inch, and they think they own the world. They convince themselves they're the cunning masters, the ones pulling the strings. The difference now, I know the truth. They're not predators. They're just players, fueled by arrogance and blind to their own vulnerabilities. And tonight, I'm playing to win. I'm done being their pawn. I'm rewriting the rules, and these fools, they're about to learn a very, very hard lesson. His breath tickles my ear, hot and expectant. He whispers promises plusher office, company car, maybe even a summer house tacked on as a bonus. The whole thing's so predictable, so cliché, it almost makes me laugh. Like there's a handbook these guys get. How to seduce and manipulate, corporate edition. Thing is, those whispered propositions, those seedy attempts at bribery, none of it gets to me anymore. Once, maybe they would have. A naive younger me might have fallen for that shiny carrot he's dangling. But not now. Now, I see those offers for what they really are. Hush money, a way to buy my silence and complicity in his dirty little game. The air shifts, thickens. He leans in close, and I smell that expensive cologne masking the stink of desperation. His lips pucker, ready for the kiss that'll seal the deal. He thinks I'm pliable, a conquest to check off his list. And that's when I make my move. Instead of meeting his kiss, I tilt my head, just a fraction, and ghost a whisper across his lips. Remember that merger you pulled off? The one with the shady accounting and the layoffs that ruined families? His eyes widen, the smugness dropping away like a mask. Panic flashes across his features. It's a beautiful sight to behold. And that time you told me about bribing a council member to get those permits? God, the things you brag about over whiskey, I continue, my voice low and venomous. The color drains from his face. I've spent months collecting his sins, little bits of blackmail tucked away, waiting for the perfect moment. It's funny how the power shifts once you know someone's dirty laundry. And his collection's a whole damn hamper. His bluster crumbles. He fumbles for words, but all that comes out is strangled denial. See, men like him, they're used to calling the shots, controlling every situation. But right now, I hold all the cards, and I can see the terror dawning in his eyes. I've played their game long enough to know the rules, and the twist I've introduced, well, let's just say it's the kind that ruins careers. He thinks he's here to prey on me, but oh honey, you got it all wrong. Tonight, you're the one on the menu. Lies. This is slander. His sputtered protests sound desperate and weak, even to his own ears, I'd bet. The room buzzes with the dying echo of his own confessions, played back through my phone's tinny speaker. The evidence hangs between us, damning and undeniable. He lunges for my phone, but I'm quicker, holding it just out of his reach. Don't even think about it, I warn, voice shaking with a mix of adrenaline and the sick satisfaction of watching the mighty fall. You'll regret this, he spits out, the usual mask of arrogance replaced by a raw, animalistic kind of fear. And it's then I see it clearly, beneath the designer suits, the practiced charm, they're all cowards. They thrive on the power imbalance, on the illusion of unwavering control. Strip that away, and they're reduced to whimpering threats and desperate pleas. His facade of power shatters completely. That smug, predatory energy is replaced by something far more pathetic. It's almost tempting to feel sorry for him, almost. But I spent too many nights cowering from my own husband's rage to waste pity on another monster in a tailored suit. A reckless energy courses through me. I've calculated, strategized, but this is instinct. With trembling fingers, I open a new text and hit my husband's name. My fingers fly across the screen. Your partner. Your secrets. Your choice. Before I can second guess myself, before logic can pull me back from the edge, I hit send. The little blue bubble hangs there, the promise of an explosion echoing in the silence. His eyes dart between me and the damn phone, a hunted animal cornered. I've played their power games for years, always on the defense, the pawn. Tonight I called checkmate, and now I wait for the final act to unfold. My phone buzzes in my hand, a single vibrating pulse that makes my stomach clench. The screen illuminates with his reply, on my way. 3 words that change everything, 3 words I can't take back. A wave of panic washes over me, a jarring counterpoint to the twisted satisfaction thrumming in my veins. Did I overplay my hand? Have I set in motion a chain of events that will leave me as broken as him? My carefully crafted revenge suddenly feels reckless, a grenade tossed in a china shop. The silence stretches, unbearable. Each creak of the floorboards, every tick of the clock sounds like a countdown to my own destruction. I'm no longer the avenging angel, the one in control. I'm a pawn once more, swept away by forces I may not be able to withstand. The front door crashes open, and he strides in. My husband. But this isn't the meek, haunted figure I've grown used to. There's a storm in his eyes, a kind of fury I haven't seen directed at anyone but me. In that moment, I realize a terrible truth. I unleashed this rage, and now I have to face it. Words fly like knives. My husband confronts the boss, his voice laced with a venom that shocks even me. Accusations, evidence, the dirty secrets I exposed spill out in a torrent. The boss tries to play his usual games, bluster and threats, but he's out of his depth. His slick facade crumbles to reveal the sniveling, terrified creature underneath. It's a grotesque sight, two men whose power depended on lies and deceit, now exposed for what they are. In the chaos, I become a spectator to my own revenge. The tables have turned, yes, but not in the clean, satisfying way I'd envisioned. This is a brutal, primal confrontation, an explosion that's bound to leave scars on everyone involved. I thought I wanted justice. Now, as I watch my world burn around me, I wonder if what I got was anything close. The dust settles. The boss, who minutes ago oozed confidence, is reduced to a whimpering mess. And right then, I'm frozen, adrenaline draining away to leave me hollowed out. My husband turns, and there it is, a flicker of something familiar in his eyes. For a dizzying moment, I see the boy I fell for, the one with a gentle laugh and eyes that saw the good in me. He was buried beneath years of bitterness and disappointment, but in this raw moment, I catch a glimpse. He opens his mouth, and I brace myself, expecting the fury I've grown used to, the blame I probably deserve. But what comes out is a single, ragged word. Leave. It's not aimed at me. This broken word is a death knell for his boss, a final act sparked by the betrayal I'd exposed. There's power in that word, a power I'd never expected from the shattered man I thought my husband had become. Maybe there's steel in him somewhere after all, something strong enough to rebuild on. The boss scrambles out, pathetic and desperate. We're left suspended in the wreck of the room, the echo of his threats hanging stale in the air. My husband collapses onto the couch, head in his hands. He's a storm-ravaged figure, shoulders hunched under the weight of 1,000 shattered illusions. My first instinct is to rush over, to offer comfort, to be the wife I should have been. But instinct catches in my throat. Yes, his world has imploded, much like mine did, but the difference is, he played architect to his own destruction. The emotional wreckage, the years of toxic silence, he had a hand in it all. So I remain in place. A few feet separate us, but it might as well be a chasm. It's a battlefield littered with the unspoken accusations, betrayals, and years of hurt we've never dared address. We are both survivors, changed irrevocably by the events of this night. Yet, amidst the ruin, something else flickers. It's not forgiveness, not even hope, really. It's possibility. Maybe this is what hitting rock bottom looks like. The masks are gone, the lies stripped away. We're left with nothing but the harsh truth, and the impossible question. Is there enough left to salvage? Something strong enough to build a different future? The house that was once our home becomes a mausoleum of our marriage. We drift through the rooms, surrounded by echoes of the life we used to share. The clock ticks on, each second a nail hammered into the coffin of what once was. Nights stretch into endless hours of fitful sleep punctuated by the same nightmares. Him, his raised fist, the boss's leering smile, my own desperate attempts to escape. Mornings come with a bone-deep weariness that no amount of coffee can hide. He leaves before the sun rises and returns long after it sets. Works late, he says, though the lie hangs unspoken between us. It's a pathetic attempt at pride, trying to rebuild a shattered ego with overtime hours. I see right through his clumsy charade. His shoulders sag a little more with each passing day, proof that no amount of money can mend a broken spirit. When he's not here, I haunt the empty rooms. They're filled with reminders of the woman I was. The dutiful wife, the hopeful decorator who thought carefully chosen throw pillows could paper over the cracks. Now, I'm ruthlessly efficient, sorting, discarding, purging all those carefully cultivated illusions. The emptiness becomes my strange companion. Days transform into endless stretches where I find a fierce kind of focus. There's therapy in decluttering your life, in shedding the skin of a past that no longer fits. It's painful, but with every box I donate, every unused wedding gift I sell, I reclaim a tiny piece of myself. One afternoon, a thick envelope arrives. It's addressed to both of us, the return address a law firm with a sterile name that speaks volumes. Inside, letters spill out, filled with a language of cold finality. Assets, division, termination. It's the official confirmation of what we both knew was coming. Legally dissolving the bond on paper seems easier than the messy business of entangling our shared history. I sit at the kitchen table, staring at those unforgiving sheets. It shouldn't be a surprise, yet it feels like a punch to the gut. The ending I set in motion months ago is finally here, but it's not the triumphant victory I'd imagined. Instead, it's a bittersweet ache, tinged with the grim realization that some battles leave no winners. Days become weeks that become a haze of empty spaces and unfinished chores. The house feels too quiet, too big, mirroring the echoing loneliness inside me. To combat it, I retreat to the patio at dusk. The fading light mirrors my own sense of something lost forever. One night, he finds me out there. A shadow hesitates at the edge of the garden, hands shoved into pockets. He's become a ghost of a man, the sharp edges of his arrogance worn down by some combination of guilt, shame, and maybe a sliver of fear for what the future holds. A bottle of wine sits on the table, untouched. He brought it as some sort of peace offering, a gesture I normally would dismiss. But tonight, the exhaustion in my bones is stronger than the usual bitterness. Wordlessly, he takes a seat opposite me, a chasm of unspoken words hanging heavy in the twilight air. After what feels like an eternity, he breaks the silence with a confession. "I never meant to hurt you," he whispers, the words ragged as if they'd been torn from him. It's too little, coming far too late. The years of careless disregard and emotional wounds can't be erased with a single, strangled sentence. I don't respond, just stare out at the deepening night where stars offer a cold kind of comfort. Yet, even as I refuse his flimsy apology, something softens in me. It's not forgiveness, not by a long shot. I'm not under any illusion that he's had some profound epiphany, that he'll magically transform into the man I deserved. It's more a reluctant recognition. He, too, is a casualty of our brokenness. He chased power, success, the respect he craved from men like his boss. In the pursuit, he became a version of himself that was unrecognizable to me, and maybe even to himself. He built his house of cards on a shaky foundation of ego and ambition, and when it all collapsed, he was left with nothing. In my quiet contemplation, I realized that my revenge didn't just punish the men who wronged me, it destroyed him as well. He uncorks the wine with shaking hands. We pour glasses that remain untouched for a long moment. The silence stretches between us, heavy with too many unsaid things. Finally, without looking at him, I reach for my glass and take a hesitant sip. He mirrors me, his movements hesitant, almost unsure. We drink in silence. It's companionable only in the loosest definition of the word. There's no comfort here, no warmth. It's more an unspoken truce, a wordless acknowledgement of how spectacularly we've messed everything up. We sip from our glasses, both of us lost in our own private wilderness of regrets and recriminations. This quiet ritual, punctuated by the clink of glass on the table, is our twisted goodbye ceremony. There are no melodramatic shouts, no final accusations hurled. We both know the truth. Some damage can't be undone, some bridges burn beyond repair. As I drain my glass, a flicker of something close to understanding passes between us. Morning arrives, harsh and unwelcome. Sunlight streams through the kitchen window, highlighting the twin glasses and the empty wine bottle we left out. A morbid still life of our ruined marriage. When I turn, I see the suitcase. It rests by the door, a testament to a decision made. His decision. Beside it, propped against the wall, is a small sheet of paper. His messy scrawl covers it, just a few stark words, starting over. It's more a statement than an explanation. There's no apology, no request for another chance. And honestly, I don't want one. As he walks out the door, it doesn't feel like a victory. The adrenaline of righteous revenge has burned away, leaving a hollow ache in its wake. His absence isn't liberating, it's final. It's like the final severing of a knotted tie that's been binding us both for too long. He fades into a memory, and I stand alone in the house that no longer feels like a home. It's a strange, hollow feeling. I'm not broken, not anymore. But I'm not pieced back together either. I'm some messy in between, a collection of rough edges and scars that are slowly starting to heal. I stare at the empty space where he used to be and something stirs in me. It's not joy, but it's not defeat either. It's something akin to possibility, the echo of a future I haven't been allowed to envision in years. A future that, for the first time, is entirely my own.